So my name is Annelise Larson. I've been working and heading up the digital team on the other side right from the beginning. So I've been involved for about 7 years and now 6 seasons. So welcome to our Paranormal Pizza Party for the premiere of lots of P's of season 5. Lynn and her crew in Hamilton are here to grill Jeff for a good 15 minutes. So they were already asking me questions I couldn't answer. So I'm going to leave it to you guys.
Good. I'm excited.
Thank you, Annelise. Yes, thank you. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just how everyone's doing today.
We're not drunk enough.
Oh, no. Give it time.
I drink apple juice.
Yeah. Are we sure?
So, we love the show.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to include my friends at Mystic Mojo. I'm taking psychic studies here. Mm-hmm. And these people all mean a lot to me, and I know that they love you too.
Awesome. Good.
So we did put some questions together.
Perfect.
The first one is, are you available?
Okay. I'm available. I'm available for bookings. I'm hireable.
So close to you.
But I actually married my high school sweetheart, grade 11. We met and we've been together ever since. I have 4 beautiful little boys and a wife, and so I'm off the market.
That's lovely. 4 little boys. That's really nice.
Yeah.
So your wife is very brave. She lived with 5 men.
That's right. Yes.
And do you all
Sorry?
Do you all put the toilet seat down?
Of course. Absolutely. 100% without fail.
I don't believe it.
Oh, well, you should, Lynn. You should.
Listen, we want to say, too, how much we love Michaela and Tom.
Oh, yeah. They're wonderful. I mean, the strength that Michaela brings to the show as far as her connection to her own culture and to, the reverence and the respect that she speaks to spirit with is it's really commendable in somebody who is as young as she is too, because Michaela is quite young, a lot younger than myself and a lot younger than Tom, and she holds her own with our crew, and it's wonderful to see her in action. And Tom Charles, I mean, I can't say enough amazing things about that man. He has been a real guiding force for me both on and off the screen, and he is just an absolute rock. Like he is such a stoic, wonderful guy. If you ever have a chance to be in the same room as him, the entire room just simply warms up when Tom comes in. And I've, off the screen, he is quite a human being. Like I remember we were in Ontario and it started to rain, and he went to a small shop down the street from where we were filming, and he bought a bunch of umbrellas and just started handing them out to the people that were in the area that were homeless, that didn't have shelter. Really is just the sweetest guy.
Yes. Oh, I just love Tom. Well, one thing, and I've said it on Facebook, is I love your kindness and your compassion. Because we've all seen these shows, which will remain unnamed, where they're running every 5 minutes, they're screaming, there's a demon.
Yes.
Nothing has happened, but there doesn't seem to be kindness and compassion there. There is.
In a lot of the other programs, my pet peeve with a lot of other shows, and I've had an opportunity to meet some of the people from the other shows, and I've conversed with them over the years, and I interviewed them once upon a time when I used to have a public radio show. But my biggest beef with those other shows is that they seem to try and antagonize and sensationalize. And I really, really, like as an individual, I've really pushed against sensationalizing the paranormal, because all too often it is made out to be something that is terrifying and scary, and it kind of demonized by popular culture. I mean, I always make the joke that in every movie, the ghost is trying to murder some sorority girl running up the stairs. Like it's ridiculous. Like it's always the most ridiculous premise for popular culture to reflect the paranormal. So these shows, unfortunately, carry that over sometimes. And I mean, it's not always the fault of these shows. Sometimes there are producers and, you know, other bodies that are making calls and are kind of guiding the way the show looks and feels.
Yeah.
And I think with our program, APTN has been wonderful in that they have been so trusting of the way that we do things over the years, but also our wonderful producers. I mean, the Angel Entertainment, the group that created and put together the side, I mean, they are very, very trusting, and they really let the process unfold organically. I remember when we first shot our very first episode, season 1, episode 1, the director, wonderful guy by the name of Rob King, he basically sat myself down along with the other 2 members of the team, and he said, so how does this unfold? Like, what do we do today? How does an investigation today happen? There was no, you know, guidance. There's no script. There's none of that. They really give us an opportunity to do the program and the investigations the way we feel comfortable and the way that, you know, I honestly feel they should be done. So I'm glad that it's resonating because we carry that level of respect through and through every turn.
It does resonate. It does, and it pays back. What you put out comes back to you.
100%.
And I on the show.
And people ask us all the time, well, how do you get such good evidence? How are you able to make such a strong connection happen? And I really credit the respect that we carry. Like, I firmly believe that because we go in with such an open mind and such respect, and we have the Indigenous way of thinking about spirit and approaching them and ceremony, you know, it's a wonderful, beautiful mix of all of those things that really allows us to get the evidence and to make the connections that we do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeff. It's amazing. Now, we have some questions here.
Sure.
Which is
That
good.
looks like a whole clipboard full of questions.
Never mind. All right.
How much time do we got?
First question is, did you always know what you wanted to do for a living, or was there another choice what you wanted to be?
Wow. Well, when I was a little boy, I wanted to be a paleontologist.
Yeah.
I was enamored, as most little boys are. I mean, I've got 4, and 2 of 4 of mine are in love with dinosaurs. So I was in love with dinosaurs. But then I actually saw David Copperfield, the stage magician, on television when I was 6. And I went, wow, like I want to learn how to do these amazing things like this guy that I'm seeing float around on stage and disappear in one spot and reappear in another. And so my initial calling and what I really wanted to do was stage magic. In fact, I was a birthday party magician for many, many years. True story.
Wow.
Entertaining kids at birthday parties. And so that was sort of the initial, you know, love, I would say, as far as what I wanted to do. And to be honest with you, it still is a love of mine. I still love performance and theater and things of that nature. So it still is very much a part of my world. But today, I actually tour and work with audiences right across the country, showcasing the power of intuition in the human mind. So I still showcase the intuitive powers that we all have in an entertaining fashion, and in a fashion that sort of, you know, begs people to kind of question what's happening in their own lives, what their own power and their own direction is. So I still find myself on stages, you know, every other week right across the country. So I guess my love affair with performance in the initial stages of my life carried through. But initially, I did want to hunt for dinosaurs. So, I mean, I'm hunting for something that's maybe in some ways more intriguing now with spirits and ghosts, but initially with paleontology.
Well, you're still hunting.
Exactly, yeah. And still, in some cases, finding things that are just as puzzling, and, you know, only getting fragments of the story, just like an archaeologist or a paleontologist would. So I guess that quest for the truth and for evidence and for all those things, it still resonates. It still carries on.
Yes. Okay, what was the next one here? Oh, would you ever do an update on the show of people that you've helped?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, actually on some of our digital media product that's been put out over the last couple of seasons, I believe, particularly season 3, I think they actually did go back and they revisited certain individuals only on the web content. So if you can dig those up, I believe they're on YouTube. I believe they're on the Other Side Facebook page. Interviews.
I can send you the link I'll send you
Yeah.
the link, Lynn.
Thank you,
Yay!
Annelise.
Because we did touch base with a lot of them, and I would love though to go back and revisit some cases. There's some that I do not want to revisit and that I wouldn't want to go back to, honestly. But there are others that the impact that the show and that myself and Tom and Michaela and the work that we did with these individuals had on their lives. I mean, I'm still in contact with many of the subjects from previous seasons. They still reach out. They still let me know. I mean, some of them are fans of the show as well, so you will see them posting from time to time on
Lovely people.
the Facebook page. We really do. We really do
do.
meet some amazing folks, and some of them have been students of mine, people that I've worked with to help grow and foster their own intuition over the years. So it's been really, really amazing. But yeah, I would love to do an episode where we revisit some of our maybe most intriguing cases.
Yeah. Okay, what else have we got here? Oh, can you name some of the places or the stories that have been most memorable for you and why?
Boy. Okay. So, the stories that we uncovered at the, Picton Heights from season 3, that facility and our connection that we forged with Abby and her brother. I mean, that was such a powerful experience for all of us. Recently though, if we're talking our current season, I mean, the episode that we shot in Halifax, Nova Scotia, the Halifax Club, with Annabelle. I mean, there are moments on the show, honestly, where we seem to be uncovering parts of history that are maybe overlooked or not fully understood. Sydney, Nova Scotia, the Glace Bay Miners Museum, when we were there and we had that connection with Fabian and we were able to reunite sort of in a way.
That was very touching.
It was emotional just being there. I mean, one of the things that it never really translated to the screen as powerfully as I think it could have was the moment when we were down in the mine and we had brought in a fiddler to play the fiddle, and you could hear the music just sort of wafting and sort of emanating throughout the mine. It was really extraordinary. And as soon as that sort of hit where we were, because I think we were about 100 meters down. Like, we were quite a ways down, as far down as we could go into that mine. And when we were down there sitting next to Abby and the other guests and feeling that energy, and then the music hit us, and all of a sudden our devices started to react, and Abby said he could feel Fabian sitting next to him, could feel him touching him.
Yeah, it makes me emotional thinking about it.
Oh, it was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So the Halifax Club, the Glace Bay Museum, but also an episode that I think is our 13th episode this season, which is the experiences we had in Newfoundland. We went out to Newfoundland for quite some time, and we had quite an incredible episode that was shot at an old Masonic temple. And that was a special one as well. So there's still great stories to come. And in season 6, the season that is going to be airing in the future, we revisit the East Coast. So we're back there with even more incredible stories from Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
So, but those 3, if I had to pick 3, I would say those 3 were pretty big ones. And but on top of all of that, though, honestly, the Western Development Museum in Saskatoon, from day 1, season 1, episode 1, that was our first episode. That one still, in my opinion, is one of the most actively haunted places in all of Canada. Yeah. And I would love to get back in there sometime.
Well, the one where you, and I've seen it a couple times, the one where you were at the Longhouse settlement.
Yes.
That moved me terribly.
Canada Village, yeah.
Yes.
And what was so extraordinary about that episode, it was the physical objects that we were finding. And, there was a part of me that as this was all unfolding, I have to be a skeptic first. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, who's putting these on this pathway? Because we found a crucifix, we found a rabbit's foot, we found this old medallion that was a protective medallion, all these things. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody from the local, the people maybe is putting these objects out there. for us to find, but there was nobody. Like we have very closed off locations and sets, so there was nobody that could have done that. Production's not doing this. Nobody is placing these objects out there, and we are still stumbling upon them. So that was really extraordinary for us. We've never had anything quite like that in any other investigation, where we're finding that level of physical evidence, and to where they were coming from is still. It still is something that's, I lose sleep over it, to be honest. I lost sleep over it after it happened. And to this day, a part of me still wonders exactly whose hand was behind the placement of those objects in those spots where we found them.
Yeah, well, I
Mystery.
remember your face and Michaela's face. I remember your eyes got so big when you were finding these things.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Now, when you were there, did you get to see Crawford Lake?
I don't recall Crawford Lake, no.
Isn't that where Crawford Lake is?
North Burlington.
Okay.
Real?
I apologize. They all run together.
Oh, that's okay.
It's all the
I hear
sort of the swamp up there right now.
What have we got here? Oh, yes. And would you like to come to Hamilton and investigate some of our dark haunts?
I would absolutely love to come to Hamilton. When we shot, we weren't far away from Hamilton. In season 3, we were very, very close, or season 4. We were very, very close to Hamilton. So Hamilton is a pretty special place, and I hear there's lots of great spots. So I'd love to make the trip sometime.
Yeah.
Especially Mystic Mojo.
Yes, Mystic Mojo.
Mystic Mojo.
Especially
the
Mystic
M&Ms.
So you're cheering for the Hamilton Tiger Cats today, correct?
Yeah, sure, yes. I mean, since my Saskatchewan Rough Riders aren't in it, I guess I kind of have to now.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, I'm not a massive sports fan. I do kind of get wrapped up in it occasionally, and I kind of regretted this past summer parts of it because we were so far out east and we were so busy. I didn't have a chance to watch any professional football at all because we were so busy with new investigations. But go Hamilton!
Yay! That's funny. All right, one last question.
Oh no, the last one. Okay. We're having a good time.
What advice would you give to fellow ghost hunters?
Well, I would say, I mean, I give a course on paranormal investigation and ghost hunting and trying to capture and gather evidence, trying to work with your own intuition. And I think that there are 3 pieces of advice that I would say for people that are out there and are trying to do this on their own. Number 1, first and foremost, be a skeptic first, truly and honestly. People say to me all the time, well, are you a skeptic? And yes, of course. When I go to a space or a location and I'm given a story, I never fully just throw myself into believing that story 100%. Even when we are on location and we're in a very historically, reputable haunted spot where a lady in white appears at the top of the stairs, I don't care what the story is. I don't care what the historic story is. I want to go in with as clean a slate as possible. So I go in skeptical of whatever story historically has maybe been told about the place, but then also be skeptical of what you see, feel, and experience in the field. Because a lot of the time, and a lot of these other shows, a creak or a bump or a knock, well, that's a ghost. Is it though? We have to be very, very careful as researchers to be credible and to make sure that we're checking our own work and that we're being skeptics first and foremost. Secondly, I would say understand and utilize intuition. Your intuition, your intuitive sense is going to be a far better tool than any of the devices that we use on the show. I use those devices to check my intuition, to check what I'm receiving, to check that feeling that our guests or Michaela or Tom are getting. We use it as a check and a balance and a pathway for communication so that we see something tangible too. But your feeling in the field, what you feel, what you interpret, what you pick up about a given location is going to be far better, accurate evidence and connection than anything you're going to get from a meter or, any sort of device. So I would say be a skeptic, rely on your intuition. And the third piece of advice that I would give people is to be protected. Make sure that you are being safe and protected. I'm a fan. I'm not going to lie. I'm a fan of these things. I use one of these in my own personal private work. This is a talking board. Okay. This is a Ouija board. All right. And I know that a lot of people maybe don't like these tools, but this is just that's all it is. Okay. It's like any other tool that's out there. A hammer can be used to build amazing structures. A hammer can also be used to injure and to hurt people potentially. So it's about the intention that you put behind it. My point here was showing something like that. When I use something like that, very often we are going through and we're using very, very carefully planned and very carefully strategized protective elements. So be sure that you're protecting yourself. You're protecting yourself physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever it is that you feel is protective, bring that with you.
Yes.
I use black salt. That's one of my main protectants. Black salt, obsidian, my tattoos, the art I've gotten, I look at those as protective pieces as well. So, be sure that you're protected. So be a skeptic, use your intuition, and be sure that you're protecting yourself.
Yeah, and I've learned as of late, because I had some problems that I need to go with my gut because I doubt myself. And thanks to Nikki and Rodrigo and everybody here at Mystic Mojo, I've learned I have to go with my gut and I have to protect myself. I used to have this, maybe I still, I always had the belief that I would never intentionally hurt someone. So I didn't understand why they would do it to me. Well, that's just stupid. Right. I mean, really. I've learned the hard way that everything you just said, I have become a skeptic in certain areas. I have to protect myself and go with my gut. So,
and just to speak just very briefly to what you just said there, Lynn, about you would never hurt somebody intentionally, so why would they hurt you? Occasionally, I don't believe spirit intends to harm us. There's something that happens, but when they're trying to reach out and communicate, whether it's frustration or just their energy connecting with our energy that causes a negative effect. I don't know the science behind it. Nobody really does. But there's always not the intention to harm. I don't think that they're trying to hurt us. They're trying to communicate. They're trying to reach out. Obviously, there are energies out there that do seek to harm and do seek to hurt. But at the same time, I mean, it's not always intentional. One of the biggest thing that I have learned over the course of my time with the program and exploring the spaces that we've explored and 165 plus investigations that we've been able to conduct over the last 6 seasons and several years. One of the things that I really have learned is that the spirit world, spirits, they can harm. They can hurt you. They really can. We have to be respectful of them. We have to be wise with regards to how we conduct ourselves. I never believed that spirits could harm you, and then I was scratched. I had a physical attack that occurred in the first season of our program. There was a physical attack of sorts that occurs in this season when we were at our very first episode of the season this year. When we were at Lennox Island, there were some scratch marks that I had happen again. And I mean, they can harm us. They really, really can. So we just have to be respectful and ensure that we're taking the steps to not provoke, to not label every single energy a demon. All these things that you see happening on some of these other programs. Just be safe out there. That's the primary thing I would say is just be safe. Be really safe.
Well, I appreciate your time, Jeff. And
You're cutting me loose already.
You can ask us anything you want.
Okay, I got a question for you, Lynn, and the group there. Of all the episodes you've seen, which one's your favorite? I'm always curious.
It's hard to name one because some of these shows, I mean, they touch me to my very core. My husband knows. I sit there and I cry.
Oh, yeah.
They move me. The one with, I forgot the name of the episode, but where you're in the church And the lady, her children,
Dark Water.
Dark
Episode,
Water.
season 4, the old Hay Bay Church. Yeah.
Yes. That moved me beyond belief. The other one was Healing Waters.
Yes.
There's so many, Jeff.
We were so lucky to have access to that space. I mean, to be able to go into the Supreme Court of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Amazing.
And conduct an investigation. I mean, that's unheard of. And so yeah, those are 2 really good ones. 2 of my favorites as well, I'd say.
It's a beautiful building.
It is. It really is. Well, and even the old Hay Bay building. I mean, it's an old wood structure, but it carries such energy. And I mean, it's in your neck of the woods, so I would definitely recommend and suggest, if you can make your way to that space, it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. They've refinished the whole exterior now, so it actually looks quite a bit different than it did when we were there a few summers ago. But it's a really special place, and there's a lot of energy that still resides there today.
We might have to have a road trip.
Yay!
Do it.
Mojo
Absolutely.
Mobile, we got this.
Oh, have you been to Six Nations, Jeff?
I believe I have been, but not for. No, sorry, I shouldn't say I believe I have been. Yes, I have been, but not for the program.
Oh, okay.
That's that. I mean, they've been there a very, very long time.
Yes.
Very big piece of, very large,
Big, large property. You would think that someplace in that property, there's got to be something going on.
Well, I think what's most interesting too is, like, I mean, a lot of the time we have these areas of land where, strongly negative or strongly positive things have happened historically, and there just seems to be a charge, just an energy that is charging sort of the area, charging the land mass. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, nothing's been brought to my attention, but I would not be surprised at all if that area, because of its history and because of what is there today and what has been there in the past, does not have some sort of energy attached to it, and something is happening. I mean, I do firmly believe, though, that it is much more common to have a haunted person or a haunted object versus a haunted building or a landmass necessarily. So sometimes it just takes that special person to step into that space and bring that energy forward.
Yeah. Do you have any questions, Nikki?
No, I'm very impressed with Jeff. Like I said, I watched quite a few of your shows. I enjoyed them, and you were doing exactly what I'm trying to teach my students, is to respect the dead. Because
Yes.
I'm tired also of people running around, demon.
Yeah. Well, I always see it as sort of the catalyst for conflict on a lot of these shows. They'll ask the question, well, did anyone do any sort of rituals in this area? And they go, oh, somebody used a Ouija board. Wow, okay. That's the root cause of all of this.
Evil.
Well, and I mean, and even on our own show, honestly, when we were on Lennox Island, there was talk of somebody doing a Ouija board process at a couple of different spots on the island, and some speculation put forward by Gilbert, our subject, as to whether or not maybe that was the root cause of some of the manifestations. And I mean, yeah, it's hype, it's sensational.
It's for the money.
Well, in a true paranormal investigation, I mean, there's no place for sensationalism. You have to go in with a level head. You have to go in, not looking for a demon, not looking for something. And I think there is something also to be said for the fact that you will very often attract what it is that you're seeking. So in a lot of cases where I hear, a bunch of kids at sleepover playing with a Ouija board and bringing forward something that's negative, well, they're trying to connect with something that's going to be spooky. They want to be scared. So of course, like a beacon, they're going off. They're going to attract those scary, negative, malevolent energies, or those energies that maybe just pick up on the fact that they want to be scared, and so they're going to try their hand at getting a rise out of these kids. So I mean, it's sensational. In a true investigation, there's no place for it. And on the other side, we really just try to conduct as we would as true investigators in the field, and we hopefully have that be reflected on the program in the end.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes. Good job, though. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
And I
We
said,
never shy away from, we also don't shy away from showing episodes where nothing happens. And I think sometimes that's something that a lot of investigators are afraid of with television programs. I mean, and I think those episodes are ones that resonate with our audience. We had the Grand Theater, which again is in your neck of the woods there. I investigated that space and I couldn't conclusively say one way or another if there was something that was active there. And this is a very famous haunted spot with all sorts of history, all sorts of stories. And we weren't really able to really kind of capture much there. And it was a bit of a disappointment, honestly. And there's other spots throughout the history of our program that have been that as well. And so we sometimes leave with a bunch of questions and without much evidence, and that's okay. We're investigating. If there was a ghost at every building, well, I mean, anybody could really, like, it'd be simple. It'd be easy, right?
Yes. When you're back in our neck of the woods, I will give you a theater that is, and we've done it ourselves, so I know for a fact you will get stuff. The Elgin Theater and the Winter Gardens, because it's the same theater. I will tell you guys, we had the best reactions. But of course, I bring 20 to 30 psychics with me, my students, to a place like this. We activate a lot of stuff, exactly like you were saying. But it was an amazing experience. There was nothing. No one got scratched. No one got tossed off the balcony. But there was a lot of great visual and feeling and emotion. It was amazing. So if you ever want to do another theater, I would recommend the Elgin Theater.
Okay.
That would
Noted.
be when you're here in our neck of the woods, Dundurn Castle.
Oh, definitely Dundurn Castle. Yeah.
What's the one on Bay Street? The old spaghetti factory.
You're talking about the
Customs House is the one by
Customs
us.
House.
Okay.
So I'm giving
I'll
you.
have to look those places up, yeah. Cool.
And anytime
Thank
you want to stop in here at Mystic Mojo for a cup of coffee, come on in. You'd love it.
All right.
You'll find a few interesting places in Hamilton.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
No
I
doubt.
know we've gone riding, and Lynn looks up into a building and up on the 6th floor, and there's a
The
spirit
Wright
up
House,
there.
the old Wright House. Yeah.
He's on the 6th floor, and he waves every time she goes by.
Yeah, there's just a man
Wow.
up there, but the building's empty.
Well, the first floor,
Amazing.
the second floor, there's something in it. Up there, it's empty. For
Yeah.
the rest
The
of it.
Wright House, I've done work in the basement.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
even in the middle of the day, there's people looking over your shoulder.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's just a feeling, yeah.
That just sounds like most government buildings, though.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Well,
Someone's always watching you.
I just want to thank everyone here for participating. And Jeff, as a side note, just because I know Come From Away is playing at the Elgin Theater right now in March.
Oh, boy. I have fallen so much in love with that play. Can I tell the story real quick
Sure.
of what happened with that?
Keep that all
So
night.
I just want to tell the story because it was really quite thrilling for me. I left St. John, Newfoundland. I just finished getting a tattoo done, and we were driving through Gander. And as I was driving through Gander, I'm listening to this podcast, and the guy on the podcast is talking about, he's about to interview David Copperfield, the magician, and he says he feels like his entire career has come to this moment, and it was like the river meeting the sea. And he said it's a quote from his new favorite play, Come From Away. And of course, I didn't know much about it at this point, so I wind up in Twillingate, where we were driving to, and I look up Come From Away, and it turns out that quote came into my life in Gander as I was driving through Gander. So I became enamored with the play, listened to it so many times when I was in Newfoundland. And on the way back home, we stopped. I made the rest of the car listen to Come From Away on iTunes, and we stopped at the Gander Airport and learned the history of the building, and we talked to people that were actually there on 9/11. So of course, it's the story of these people that were stranded on 9/11 at the Gander Airport, and so we met the people that were there on the day. So it was like, for me as a theater geek, it was like everything coming to life. So if it's playing at the Elgin, let me know when it's playing. So let's go.
Deal.
That's March 2020, so you've got a few months.
Okay, season 7.
We'll work on Wally.
Make some calls.
All right, everyone, this has been
Jake
lovely.
Lobster will be arriving soon.
Oh. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff, for your time. Thank you, Lynn and the Mystic Mojo crew in Hamilton. And enjoy your pizza and the rest of the
Thank
weekend.
you.
All right. Take
We
care.
totally
everyone.
enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our
Take
pleasure.
care,
Our
guys.
pleasure. Thanks for
Bye.
watching.
You guys are awesome.